Hello and welcome to the fourth video in this series of our videos for the Analysis Enhancements 2024. I'm Chloe Bunter and today I'm going to be taking you through some of our updates to the MERINOSELECT indexes. We're going to go through the pathway from our old indexes to the ones that we'll be releasing as of the 21st of May 2024. Some of the work that we've done since we last met when we released research indexes for Merinos in the Analysis Enhancements of 2023, introducing the final indexes in all of their glory, as well as to where to find some more information. I thought this was a perfect opportunity to have a look and reel ourselves back to the basics of what indexes are within sheep genetics. Now, indexes are a single value that is representing a production system across the industry. They're analysis specific, so maternals, terminals, merinos, doonies, goats, they all have their own individual suite of indexes. Indexes are a ranking tool. They're great if you need to make a lot of selection decisions quickly because it's one value. Good way of making balanced genetic gain across a range of traits because they include antagonistic traits, which are often difficult to deal with when you're looking at individual traits. Now, an example of this is, for example, growth and eating quality, or yielding clean fleece weight and yielding fiber diameter. They're antagonistic to each other. If you're wanting to make gain in one, it often comes at the cost of another. What an index does is it helps balance those and makes it easier to make gain in both, which is possible through genetic selection. What indexes are not is they're not a replacement for a breeding objective. They're a single value. It's a summary. It's a quick draft, if you like, of making selection decisions. You still need to look at those individual traits, and individual traits are still extremely important for your breeding objective. Breeding objectives should be specific and individualized to your flock. And because indexes are a summary, not all indexes are going to suit all flocks. By having which traits need more emphasis, you're going to have a greater gain towards your breeding objective. Now, the reason individual traits are still important is because two rams could have a very similar index value, but they've gotten there in very different ways. For example, one ram might have a high index value because he's really good at reproduction, whereas one might have a higher index value because he's very good at his clean fleece weight. Two very different traits, but they've got a similar index based on the weightings. Now, in case you don't remember, I'm going to go through the pathway of where we've gone from our initial industry consultation in 2021 all the way to releasing these final indexes for the 21st run of 2024. Initial industry consultation did start back in 2021, and from that we had two production system surveys released in 2022. Now, these surveys covered everything from what traits are important, how you're using indexes currently, how many animals you've got, what type of production systems are you aiming for, what markets are you aiming for, what traits are you looking to make gain in, what do you think is currently missing from the old indexes, and more. From this information, we were able to get a good snapshot of the breeder and commercial producer industry across Australian merinos. And taking that information, we went forward and we made 5 research indexes, which were released as part of the analysis enhancements in 2023. We had those indexes released alongside with our old indexes for a period of 12 months. During that time, from August of 2023 right up until April of 2024, we were still collecting information and feedback. We had webinars, we had consultations, we had meetings, we had a survey, just getting people's gauge and opinions about these new indexes for that refinement and consultation period. We refined those indexes, got final approval in April of 2024, and we're going forward with these new indexes that I'll show you in a second. Before we see the new indexes, which I'm sure everyone's jumping at the bit for, I did want to spend a little bit of time looking at really big development that moving forward is also going to impact our other analyses, maternals and terminals, and future indexes that we make within sheep genetics. And this was the redevelopment of the sheep object software. Now, this occurred throughout 2022 and 2023, right up until the release of those research indexes. And what this sheep object software is it's the software we use to model the production systems that we create our indexes on. So through this redevelopment, we were able to do a lot of really exciting updates based on the information that we gathered from that initial consultation. People wanted new traits. We wanted better assumptions and allowances for different events within a production system. We had to update the software to allow us to do that. So I'm going to go through some of our really exciting updates that occurred to that bioeconomic model that sits behind our indexes and informs those production systems. First being a multi-year age structured flock. So we're able to account for the fact that there's maiden ewes in a flock, there's mixed age ewes, there's young rams, there's older rams, there's a weather flock for some of our indexes, and how different age stages can impact performance across those. We were able to allow performance to be evaluated over a 12-month period. So we were able to account for events such as joining, lambing, pregnancy, lactation, shearing, eye muscle and depth, fat depth, measurements, weights, all of those different events that occur within your flock across a calendar year, inputs and outputs of that system, as well as we're able to map the physiological state of every single animal for every single day. So we can have a look in particular for reproductive performance, how being joined, how being in late stages of pregnancy, lambing, or lactation can impact your performance throughout that calendar year. Inclusion of new traits, which previously we had wanted to make gain as an industry, but hadn't been able to include in the modeling. By updating how we model different traits within the index, we've been able to include traits such as wrinkle, condition score, component reproduction, solidity size, conception, rearing ability, and in the future, any new traits that come online, for example, if there's a methane or a feed intake or any other research ASPV, we'll be able to include them a lot easier than previously. And finally, we're also now able to take into account the effect of reproduction on feed requirements, on energy needs for you, and on the performance of wool traits moving forward. What's also been really cool within this update model is we're able to take into account reproductive performance as a genetic variable. So genetically, we do know that reproduction is heritable. You've got some sort of heritable component to reproduction traits. Within this new model, we were able to take into account whether a ewe was scanned with twins but only gave birth to one, whether a maiden ewe was scared dry but managed to get pregnant her second time, or if she was a maiden that got pregnant, how that impacts her performance going forward, which is really good and is a lot better at capturing what's happening on farm across our industry. Thought we'd also then go through our pathway from our old indexes of fiber production plus, merino production plus, and dual purpose plus to our research indexes of fine wool, wool production, sustainable merino, and sustainable merino high rainfall, which were two variances of the same production system, and maternal lamb. Now, as I said, these research indexes have been running for just under 12 months alongside our old ones. Moving forward, as of the 21st of May, our old indexes of FP+, MP+, DP+, and the base indexes are not going to be available. They're not going to be available on your search site within your results. These indexes are going to be discontinued. From our research indexes, we've kept fine wool, wool production, and merino lamb, which has been a rebrand of maternal lamb. From our feedback, we had a lot of feedback that sustainable merino and sustainable merino high rainfall, we wanted them still, we just didn't think that there need to be two. So we're combining them into a single index, which will be called sustainable merino, but will have the traits and the emphasis of sustainable merino high rainfall. So moving forward, we will have fine wool, wool production, sustainable merino, and merino lamb. Now I'm going to show you what these four indexes are as a high-level summary of their production systems in a second. But before I do that, I wanted to highlight some of the refinements that have occurred since we released them as research indexes. So the first is the modeling of a weather-based system. Fine wool and wool production have a weather base contributing to this index. One of the updates was we're keeping those weathers on farm a little bit longer in our model. We also had the refinement for a premium for staple strength in the same two indexes, where this is quite an important trait, which means that we're now at a maintaining status across the industry for this trait. For all four of our indexes, micron premiums and wool prices were looked at and adjusted slightly to better reflect what we're seeing in industry. We also had a refinement on how reproduction is used and weighted within fine wool, wool production, sustainable merino. And then very excitingly, part of the work that was done was we're now able to add a yearling joining and eating quality considerations to our merino lamb index as well. So if you are looking for more in-depth information, please have a look at some of the other documentation I'll highlight at the end of this video. For now, we're just going to do a very high-level summary of what each of these four are. Fine wool, in its final version, is a production system where the majority of income is from the wool clip with a strong focus on quality. We've got a 75 to 25 wool meat ratio for this index, and we're basing it on a 16 micron wool base from both the breeding flock and those mixed age wethers. We see genetic improvement for fleece weight, fiber diameter, staple strength and reproduction, as well as a desired gains approach for reducing wrinkle and worm egg count. When we compare the research fine wool index to the final fine wool index, we've got a new version of that wether flock, increased emphasis on staple strength, and we're seeing more genetic gain in fleece weight, less response to growth and mature size, less response to conception and litter size, and less response to wrinkle than we saw previously. For wool production, we're looking at a production system where the majority of income is from that wool clip, still focusing on quality. We see a 71 to 29 wool meat ratio. We've got an 18 micron wool flock from both the breeding and the mixed age wethers, and we're looking at a genetic improvement for fleece weight, fiber diameter, staple strength, and reproduction. while also reducing wrinkle. Changes from the research to the final include a new version of that weather flock, higher micron premium, increased emphasis on staple strength, more genetic gain in fleece weight, and a better fiber diameter response, maintaining that staple strength. And we're seeing less response in our growth, mature size, litter size, and wrinkle. For sustainable merino, we're looking at a production system where it's a little bit more balanced in terms of our profit from wool to meat with a 46 to 54 ratio. We're basing this on a 19 micron flock with lambs sold off shears at a post-weaning age stage. Our genetic improvement is focused in on fleece weight, fiber diameter, growth, lean meat yield, and reproduction, while having a desired gains approach to reducing wrinkle, reducing dag, reducing worm egg count, and reducing mature size. So we're looking to cap that adult weight. As I said before, we've got the traits and emphasis of sustainable merino high rainfall, which was the research index, moving forward under the sustainable merino name. We've got a higher micron premium than we saw previously, and increased emphasis on staple strength. We are also looking at a larger penalty on mature size to cap that adult weight. Looking at a better fiber diameter response than previously, better staple strength to a maintenance level, less response in growth, and a better mature size response as well. And finally, our merino lamb is a production system where the income is more favored towards that lamb production. So our wool to meat ratio is 35 to 65, favoring that sheep meat production. Looking at 20 micron wool, lambs are again sold off shears at a post-weaning age stage. The proportion of ewes is also being delegated towards a terminal size. So we're also incorporating that within our production system as well. Very excitingly, we've got a genetic focus on our yearling reproduction and eating quality, which aren't in the other indexes. Now, that's a lot of information to throw at you at once, so I thought I'd put up this summary slide, really highlighting the comparison and the differences between these 4 indexes moving forward. So as you can see here, that prime lamb production system is really favoured in that merino lamb, with some consideration in our sustainable merino as well, whereas our wool production and fine wool are more catered towards that wool clip and that high quality wool. As I said, this is a very brief, high-level summary. If you're looking for more information, please check out the analysis enhancement booklet that will be published alongside our analysis enhancements of 2024. We're also going to have individual documentation surrounding these index. So we're going to have a breeder and buyer document. We're going to have a changes to from research to final, as well as a summary of the production systems used within these merino indexes and a selection advantage page as well, similar to the one that you saw for analysis enhancements 2023. Agri have also produced some really cool videos that are very short snapshots of what these indexes are, and they're available on the Sheep Genetics YouTube page. There's also, if you're looking for any commercial-based information, the MLA Genetics Hub. Just to pop it up there again so we can once again have a look at what process we're talking about here. We've gone from our old indexes that are going to be discontinued and no longer available through to our research indexes, with our final MERINOSELECT indexes of being fine wool, wool production, sustainable merino, and merino lamb. Thank you so much for joining us through these short videos about our 2024 analysis enhancements. If you have any questions about these analysis enhancements at all, please feel free to reach out to Sheep Genetics. Our contact details are here. Thanks for joining.